Hello, welcome to the Promenade Française. This is used to be my YouTube channel for practicing French. It's now become my YouTube channel just for hanging out, speaking several languages, and complaining about the weather. So it's now 4 degrees, -4 degrees. I rode the bicycle. I was like really not into it today. I was like, I don't want to do it. But, somehow the streak, you start to build up some momentum and you prove to yourself that, like, it's not impossible. In fact, like, you generally feel better afterward. And then also there's other things I need to get done tonight, like, do my language study. And then, so I was going downstairs with my bicycle and I just had this thought, like, nothing's gonna really change. Like, I'm never actually gonna be able to speak French very well. Um, my Chinese will just always be that, like, whatever it is right now. Like, there's not really much I could do to change it. The Russian's always been terrible, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I get this feeling like sometimes I teach some business English lessons, and that's the same thing I get from a lot of these kids. And it's how I felt when I was in China many years ago. It happens, actually. It happens when you start focusing on a language, or when you start working on something, when you start making some life changes. At some point, you're going to reach this point where it's like, okay, so I've been doing it for a while, and I can see the general trajectory of this effort. It does not look promising. Like, but then the thing is, like, what else are you going to do with your time? So I'm trying to develop a winter habit of studying language. It's -4 outside. It's 6 degrees in my apartment. And yesterday it was -6, and I went for a bike. I came back. I took a cold shower. I washed my hair in the cold water, probably like 1 or 2 degrees water, and I didn't die. And I don't know. I just feel like I didn't die. Yeah, I can see that the weather's basically going to be the same every day. In fact, it's going to get warmer on Monday. It's going to be 6 degrees. Heat wave. It's going to feel great, 6 degrees. But I mean, the point is, what? It's -4 right now. That's winter. It's going to be like this for like freaking 2 months. At some point, I just have to get used to it. And the same with language study. In fact, today I did something very strange. I had a really bad experience this morning because somebody charged not my credit card, but my bank account. I mean, it might have been me, but, but there wasn't any money in the account. It's like, so then I got charged $40. An insufficient fund charge. It was crazy. There's $40 that just disappeared, and I was so upset. And I was just like, how could? But then I looked back and I just realized, like, I was like unstable. I was just like, because I had to pay for all these lessons, all these French lessons, and they put it on my credit card, and I just wanted to pay it off as quick as possible. I paid a couple of months in advance, and it was just like so much stress around money right now. And so I was like, because sometimes it takes a day or two for transactions to show up on my account in Canada. It's just like, I just don't get it. In China and here in Georgia, like the rest of the world, like things just like happen immediately. But in Canada, it's like, so And I've always been stressed around numbers. So, anyways, somehow I moved money from one account to another, and then there wasn't money in that other account, and then I got charged $40. It's insane. Just because I'm nervous around money. So I started using like a paper ledger. Like I figured out how to design the ledger so that I can, there's like a row for writing the words of the transaction, and then there's a row for the cash in hand here in Georgia. Then there's a row, not a row, but a column for the cash in the bank account here in Georgia. Then there's a row for cash in the savings account in Canada, a row for the cash in the credit card that I owe in Canada, and then a row for another thing related to my church. So that's it, you know. It's like okay, so now I'm doing the transactions with paper, like keeping track of everything with paper. And then I was like, well, I got one notebook, so I might as well get out my other notebook. So then I got out my other notebook, which is about like I'm making like a little app. I'm working on a little software project, and like I need to keep a paper so that when I'm walking with my dog, that I can sit down, I can write out the ideas, and then it was like crazy. Some ideas came to me this afternoon, and it really opened up like what I should do. The startup menu, because you know how like some apps you have to have like they walk you through how to use the app. I've been designing a piece of software for the last couple of years, and the thing is that you have to simplify it and simplify it and simplify it, and then now it's like the startup menu. So like, how do you walk people through your app? And then I just designed it all, and then suddenly I returned to this idea of like, do you really want to learn? So what do you mean like there's no progress? What do you mean there's no progress with language? And it goes back to my firm belief that if you're not sitting down every day and writing out the words, the new words by hand on a piece of paper, then you're not really serious about learning a language. And so I admit, I'm not very serious about learning a language. I'm really not. Like, yeah, I'm here right now. I'm like talking English. And then in a minute from now, I'm going to start speaking other languages. But obviously, I'm not serious because, like, I have like 2 lessons every day in French. Most of the time, we're just reading. But whenever we read, there's always like a list of new words. And when you're reading a book, you're going to be recycling the same vocabulary over and over again. So then the question is, well, if you're 400 pages, 500 pages into this book now, like if you would have made a list of the new words every day for 10 minutes, because my lesson's 50 minutes, it means that there's like 10 minutes before the end of the hour. So if you just spent that 10 minutes between the end of the lesson and the next hour, just going back through the chapter and just pick 10 words, it doesn't even matter which 10 words, any 10 words, and then each of those 10 words, write it out 5 times. That's it, 50. Or maybe you could do a couple more than that if you want. I mean, you got 10 minutes, so go back to the beginning of the chapter. The first 10 new words that you see, and then write them all out 5 times each word. And then look at the clock. If there's any more time, then go look for another couple of words. Write each word 5 times. If I would have done that, even for 10 minutes each lesson, for the 500 pages of this book, then guaranteed I would know all the vocabulary by now. So that's why I'm saying I'm not serious about learning language. It's just a hobby. And that's why I had this negative thought about like, I'm never going to learn French. But suddenly, that $40, it was so crazy. But when bad things like that happen to you, you have to make them meaningful. How do I make that more meaningful in my life? So I took out a piece of paper, I created a ledger. Now I'm carrying, so I have like a little backpack now. I put that ledger and my ideas notebook inside of the backpack, and I just carry it around with me everywhere I go. So, for example, like I went to the bank, I took some money out of the bank account, so then I had to write down. I took money from the bank account column and put it into the cash column. And then under the item, I wrote, I'm taking money out of the bank account and put it into cash. Because I don't want to be charged again. And I think now it's like really important for me to focus, pay attention. Really try to understand this. And then later on, I took the other notebook out because I had some ideas about that startup screen, and then I designed it. I came home, I talked to my Google Gemini, designed that screen. And the very last thing I did of significance, I got this notebook. Check it out. I got a notebook. So, where's my pen? Do I have a pen? Please have a pen. Please be a pen. Please be a pen. Please be a pen. Okay, I got a pen. Alrighty then. So, how do I make this more meaningful? I mean, after I finish this video, I'm gonna go to sleep. But before I go to sleep, I'll probably end up playing Brawl Stars. So, alright, so then the question is, well, rather than playing Brawl Stars, can you spend 10 minutes? My dog is next to me. He's not happy because I just put my notebook right next to me. And he's like, why did you put your notebook next to you? It's my spot. Okay. Well, you know what I can do is like, so it sounds like that I'm kind of not willing to do this. I'm kind of not willing to take 10 minutes at the end of this lesson and write down some new words for 10 minutes. But then I just remembered one way I could force myself to do it is just do it during the actual time. But usually by the time we get to the end of this lesson, I'm so exhausted that I just want to go to sleep. All right. So, what's that, 12 minutes? 13 minutes of talking about nothing. Amazing. All right. So, today's lesson is about the Impossible Korean exam. Look at that. Russian, French, Chinese, and what is that, American? I don't speak American. All right, so the prompt I used today, so I took the pictures. Here's the first. Here's the French words. Here's the English. So I took screenshots with my phone. Because if you're going to use screenshots, then you have to do it with your phone. Otherwise, if I do it with my computer, it doesn't get sent to my phone. It's weird how Google does this. All right. I said, this is exactly like last time. I should remember the text from these two languages and produce the Russian and Chinese versions. Walk me through each by reading one line at a time, and I'll repeat. Start with the Chinese, then Russian, then French, then return to Chinese and learn new words. Russian, learn new words, then French, learn new words. C'est une excellente idée. Travailler avec plusieurs langues en même temps est un défi passionnant pour les cerveaux. Voici le plan. We are going to traduire, we're going to translate ce texte sur l'examen en Corée du Sud. Comme tu l'as demandé, nous commençons par le chinois, puis le russe et enfin le français. Étape 1, chinois, mandarin. Mandarin. Je lis la première ligne et tu répètes après moi. Ligne 1. 在韩国学习的考试非常难。在韩国学校的考试非常难。En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire est très difficile. Dis-moi, quand tu es prêt pour la deuxième ligne, aperçu des étapes suivantes, une fois et que nous aurons fini la lecture ligne par ligne, nous passerons aux autres langues. Russe, Ruski. В Южной Корее, I gotta change my accent. В Южной Корее школы экзамен очень сложный. En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire est très difficile. En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire est très difficile. On commence par la première ligne en chinois. J'écoute. So it totally messed it up. So I said produce the full text in all 4 languages. C'est un excellent exercice de comparaison linguistique. Voici le texte complet basé sur les images fournies, traduire fidèlement en chinois et en russe, suivi des versions françaises et anglais. Version chinoise. Alright, so that actually fixed it. So then it printed out the whole text in Chinese and in Russian. And then in French. And then in English. So it worked. Souhaites-tu que nous commencions la lecture ligne par ligne en chinois comme prévu? Yeah. Alright, so there's 3 things we can do. The first thing we can do is actually go through and read this line by line. Now, I'm not going to show this screen when I'm doing it line by line. I'm going to be showing this screen, I suppose. Well, I guess the Chinese I'll show this screen. What's the first language? Chinese? Okay. Yeah, that's everything. And then we could also jump into my textbooks. I have a couple of other textbooks that I use with my tutor. So this one we're on page 20. Wow, this one we're on page 59. Yeah, so that's it. All right, good night, everybody. I'm too tired. All right, you can't be tired. Let's go. And then at the end, then we have to make a list of all the new words. All right, are you ready to go?
Ready. Commençons par la lecture ligne par ligne en chinois.
Okay.
Parfait. Continuons avec la ligne 2. À toi de jouer.
在韩国学校的考试非常难，英语考试非常难，许多学生感到害怕。今年很多人在生气，考试负责人辞职了，他表示道歉。
Presque parfait. Juste une petite correction sur la prononciation et la traduction. Répète après moi la ligne 3.
辞职负责人，辞职负责人。今年很多人在生气，考试负责人辞职了。
Très bien. Passons à la ligne 4. Il s'excuse. 表示 exprimer 道歉 s'excuser。
道歉，道歉，道歉，表示道歉，表示道歉。为什么你不讲中文呢？
抱歉，我会继续用中文讲解。没关系，我们继续。这是 Ling 5，有些问题非常长，很难读。
有些问题非常长，很难读。
很好，很好。Ling 6，学生必须对文本进行很多思考。
学生必须对文本进行很多思考。
非常好。Ling 3，甚至老师们也说考试太难了。
甚至老师们也说考试太难了。
很好。Ling 8，他们说这不能帮助学生在现实生活中使用英语。
他们说这不能帮助学生在现实生活中使用英语。
非常标准。Ling 9，这项考试在该国非常重要。
这项考试在该国非常重要。
继续。Ling 10，人们认为它可以改变学生的衣裳。
人们认为它可以改变学生的一生。
是的，是的。Ling 11，在考试当天，人们保持安静以帮助学生。
在考试当天，人民保持安静以帮助学生。
非常好。Ling 12，一些专家说考试需要修改。
一些专家说考试需要修改。
最后一句。Ling 13。
Okay, you didn't read it. You have to read it first.
Absolument, désolé. Voici la ligne 13. Bravo pour ton chinois. On passe au russe maintenant?
它应该帮助学生感到平静和更好的学习。
Отлично. Теперь переходим к русскому языку. А читаю первую строку, а ты повторяешь. В Южной Корее школьный экзамен очень сложный.
В Южной Корее школьный экзамен очень сложный.
Молодец. Строка «Тест по английскому языку очень сложный».
Тест по английскому языку очень сложный.
Верно. Строка 3. В этом году многие люди зрятся.
Многие ученики боятся. В этом году много людей злятся.
Продолжаем. Строка 4. Он извиняется.
Руководитель экзамена уходит со своего поста. Он извиняется.
Отлично. Строка 5. Некоторые вопросы очень длинные.
Некоторые вопросы очень длинные, и их трудно читать.
Отлично. Строка 6. Ученики должны много размышлять над текстом.
Ученики должны много размышлять над текстом.
Молодец. Даже учителя говорят, что тест слишком сложный.
Даже учителя говорят, что текст слишком сложный.
Верно. Строка 8. Они говорят, что он не помогает ученикам использовать английский язык в реальной жизни.
Они говорят, что он не помогает ученикам использовать английский язык в реальной жизни.
Совершенно верно. Строка 9. Этот экзамен очень важен для страны.
Этот экзамен очень важен для страны.
Отлично. Строка 10.
Люди думают, что он может изменить жизнь ученика.
Правильно. Строка 11.
В день экзамена люди соблюдают тишину, чтобы помочь ученикам.
Правильно. Строка 11.
Почему ты не читаешь?
Повтори, пожалуйста. Строка прибавь.
Нет, это какое... Вот это... Некоторые эксперты говорят, что экзамен должен быть изменен.
Отлично. И последняя. Строка 13. Замечательно. Мы закончили с русским. Переходим к французскому языку.
Он должен помогать ученикам чувствовать себя спокойно и лучше учиться.
Parfait. Commençons par la ligne 1 en français. En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire est très difficile.
En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire est très difficile.
Parfait. Commençons. Le test d'anglais est très difficile. Beaucoup d'élèves ont peur.
Le test d'anglais est très difficile. Beaucoup d'élèves ont peur.
Bravo, ligne 3. Cette année, beaucoup de gens sont en colère. Le responsable de l'examen quitte son poste.
Cette année, beaucoup de gens sont en colère. Le responsable de l'examen quitte son poste.
Exact, ligne 4. Il s'excuse.
Il s'excuse.
Très bien, ligne 5. Certaines questions sont très longues et difficiles à lire.
Certaines questions sont très longues et difficiles à lire.
Exactement, ligne 6. Les élèves doivent beaucoup réfléchir au texte.
Les élèves doivent beaucoup réfléchir au texte.
Très bien, ligne 7. Même les enseignants disent que le test est trop difficile.
Même les enseignants disent que le test est trop difficile.
C'est ça, ligne 8. Ils disent qu'ils n'aident pas les élèves à utiliser l'anglais dans la vie réelle.
Ils disent qu'ils n'aident pas les élèves à utiliser l'anglais dans la vie réelle.
Parfait, Rin. Cet examen est très important dans le pays.
Cet examen est très important dans le pays.
C'est ça, ligne 10. Les gens pensent que cela peut changer la vie d'un élève.
Les gens pensent qu'il peut changer la vie d'un élève.
C'est ça, ligne 11. Le jour de l'examen, les gens restent silencieux pour aider les élèves.
Le jour de l'examen, les gens restent silencieux pour aider les élèves.
C'est bien, ligne 12. Certains experts disent que l'examen doit être modifié.
Certains experts disent que l'examen doit être modifié.
Enfin, la ligne 13.
Il devrait aider les élèves à se sentir calmes et mieux apprendre.
Parfait. Apprenons quelques nouveaux mots. Que dirais-tu de... Répète après moi. 平静,学习,生活.
平静,学习,生活.
Parfait. Voudrais-tu apprendre d'autres mots ou continuer en russe?
Okay, so let's just let's get out of here. Okay. All right. Now, okay, so our next choice. Oh, man, I'm just like starting to fall asleep already. Now, we can either go through these, which is like kind of like what I use. This is what I do with my tutors. I kind of want to do this little exercise here. J'ai envie de voir ce film. But this is actually my homework, so I should probably do the homework on my own, like on my own time. And then also, like during my lessons, I go through these books, so you know, I don't really need to go through them right now. I just wanted to go through this little, these reading exercises so I can kind of. All right, let's try a cool down activity. So now, so this has like the full. Okay, so this has everything that we've talked about so far. Also, based on the work we did today, write down all the vocabulary words that I made mistakes on or should review. Alright, so I don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't really care because, we can just do it the old-fashioned way. I don't mind. Which is basically we go back to the beginning of the text and then we just go through it line by line. Alright, words, les tests. Le test et les sons, white matters, the plural. Mieux apprendre l'excellence scolaire. My goodness. I started writing in Korean. That is a killer tongue. Alright, so that's terrible. I'm not interested in any of that. Okay, copy the text in Chinese, Russian, and French again for me. Okay, good. All right, so I got my notebook. Now, so the thing is, like, any notebook is going to obviously have tome. There we go. So any notebook is obviously going to have like lines on it. So let's figure out how we're going to do this. My recommendation, since like I mentioned before that I'm only going to write each word 5 times, there's like a column here. You see the column? So there's like a line right here. So if we put all the new words on like one side of the line, and then on the other side we can practice all the words. All right, let's put this. I can't sit like I was sitting and do this at the same time. All right, so drop the cap to my pen. Okay, let's do this. So maximum, I got like how many lines is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10. So that's 10. That's 20. That's 30. I got 33 lines. I feel like 33 lines means 10 words from each language. En Corée du Sud. En Corée du Sud. So that means in South Korea. So it was a du Sud. The Korea of South, in the Korea of South. L'examen scolaire est très difficile. I don't know what that even means. Examen scolaire? What does that mean? Vedin examen à l'UJ sabjudaï. What? Okay, that's wrong. It didn't give us the right. Okay, here it is. Here's the original text. There we go. All right, we'll start with Chinese. What are you doing, Gordon B? All right, let's do this. Okay, 在韩国 I know this word 韩国学习的考试非常难，英语考试非常难，许多学生感到害怕。Now, I know all these words, but the question is, do you remember how to write them? 韩国学校考试非常难，英语考试非常难，许多学生感到害怕。害怕, I think 害怕 is an interesting word to write. How many lines is that? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 is a line through it, and then a box, and then a害怕。今年很多人在生气，可是负责人辞职了。Okay, so that was one thing. So we got 负责人，负责人。You know, look, this section of the it's different. You see this, there's 3 lines here, and then the line goes through it, and then this one is 3 lines, but it stops. Hi. It's 3 lines, and the lines go through it. And this one is 3 lines, but the lines stop. 负责人. This is interesting. Look, so it has fu is like has a ren at the bottom. This one has a ren at the bottom. This one has a ren up here. Ren. But the thing is, like, it's too small. Like, see how it's like it doesn't really fit in the lines very easily. I mean, maybe if it was like 10 years ago when I used to live in China, I could just write really small. I would suggest writing big because then it's more fun. It takes up more room. It can get through it faster. And it's just more interesting in general. Look at that. See the high pot? It's way better if we do it like big. Look at that. That's more fun. It's a lot more fun. Okay, now we're gonna go 负责人 fu. 责 人. Look at that. Look at that, baby. We got 负责人. Okay, so if we're gonna do 2 lines, then we only have to do 5 lines because we only get 10 lines for Chinese. 今年很多人在生气考试负责人辞职了，辞职了，辞职了. There we go. I might write this one twice right away. 辞职. I don't know if I've ever written this word. Oh, we got 辞职了. You see that? Nice. Okay, 表示道歉. Remember that? 道歉. That's really complicated. Look at this one. Look at this second character. That's insane, huh? This one here. That's crazy town. Does it look the same? Can you see it looks the same, huh? Check it out. Alright, so this is it's the same as this one here. No, this is 道歉. You see 道歉 is here. And then here's 辞职了. 负责人. You see here 负责人. Here's 负责人 and 辞职了. Alright, we got one more character that can fit. So it's okay if I take up 2 lines generally because, how many new words are there in this actually? I've read like 40 textbooks in Chinese when I was in law school in China, so it's like this is pretty easy for me. 有些问题非常长. This word is 长 and this word is 长. This is 长 and 长. So this is 非常, which means very, and then 长 means long. 非常长. 有些问题非常长，很难读，学生必须对. So this is like an interesting thing, character. 必须对文本进行很多思考，甚至老师也说考试太难。他们说这不能帮助学生在现实生活中使用英语。这项考试在该国非常重要，人民认为它可以改变学生的一生。在考试当天，人民保持安静，以帮助学生。一些专家说，考试需要修改，它应该帮助学生感到平静和并更好地学习。I know all these words. I don't necessarily remember how to write them, but I would say that, like I was saying, you're not going to make any like earth-shattering change. But if you maintain the habit without putting too much stress on yourself, then, you may make a little bit of particularly, look, we got this. So the question is, am I actually gonna write these out? When? Like right now? Okay, let's do hi pa. Hi. Pa. Hi. Pa. I actually know this character. Well, I don't know the characters. Hi. Po. Hi. This is what I used to do in China. Pa. Like literally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I wrote it 5 times. I used to sit in the cafeteria and I would just write out Chinese characters for hours and hours and hours, day after day after day, for a year and a half. And then I went to law school. Fu, Zi, Zhen, Fu, Zi. I really like it actually. Zhen. Wow. How long has it been since I wrote out characters? Fu, Zi, Zhen, Fu, Zi, Zhen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 辞职，辞职，辞职，辞，what is this? 辞职，辞职。We got one more. 辞职。1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 道歉，道歉，道歉，道歉，道歉. There's very few things in this world that bring me so much joy as writing Chinese characters. 道歉，道歉，道歉，道歉. And one more. 道歉. Check this out. Yeah. Now, okay, so what happened I was in China for 10 years, and then at the end, like, I quit my job. The job just, I don't know, it just wasn't working out. And then I ended up getting divorced. The marriage just wasn't working out. So I spent the years between the year 20, like I was 23 to 40, 33, 23 to 33 in China. And I moved to California. I was just totally burned out. And the experience just left me like completely depressed about life, and my whole life shattered because I just didn't. I mean, I spent 10 years like burning out. Like I burned out significantly, like hardcore burnout, like 3 times in China. The one time I burned out, I think it was the year after maybe my 3rd year of university in law school. After my 3rd year, was it the summer of the 3rd year or the summer of after the 2nd? I think it was the summer after the 2nd year. Yeah, it was the summer after the 2nd year. So the first semester, we had 4 classes, and it was like, okay, it was really intense because I mean 4 classes, everything was taught in Chinese with Chinese characters. The textbook is Chinese characters. You have to write your exams by hand. The second semester was 6 classes. That was insane. It was like, oh my goodness, it was like 6 classes. Everything was taught in Chinese. It was just really intense. Their second year, the first semester, there were 8 classes. Like, what the heck was I thinking? Like, I picked, and then they actually forced you to take 8 classes. It was just too much. The fourth semester there was like 11 classes in one semester. And then I went crazy. It was like I failed 1 class, and I just lost it. I was just like, I had a scooter. It's like a 125cc scooter, like the kind where both your legs are in the front. It's not a motorcycle, it's a scooter. I jumped on that scooter. Check this out. It was insanity. What the heck? Okay, here we go. So I jumped on this. I was in Shanghai at the time. All right, first I drove the scooter to Nanjing. So how do we get to Nanjing from Shanghai? Here it is. So here's the first. I went through Suzhou and then up to Nanjing. No, I didn't go through. Oh, you have to go through Suzhou. I didn't actually go into Suzhou. I just kind of like went around it, and then through Changzhou, and then through Nanjing. That was my first stop. So I think I don't remember. Did I spend the night in Nanjing, or did I just keep going? I can't remember. It was a long time ago. Oh, check this out. You won't even believe this. Let's go to YouTube. YouTuber. I don't know if I can do the other one. Oh yeah, I can. Check this out. You won't even believe this. It's so insane. It's just too insane. You will never believe this. Alright, so we're going to go into my personal account. So I was thinking about, so you can see this is 18 years ago. It's like the beginning of YouTube. Check this out. There it is. You see? There's my scooter. There's a scooter. Alright, so this is, I start the journey off in, turn this off, it's distracting me. Okay, so this is just regular video. That's the Great Wall of China. Here's Tiananmen Square. That's the parliament that's raising the flag. There it is. There's my freaking motorcycle. 125 cc's. Now this is actually on top of a mountain. These are two different places. This is the highway. This is when I was on the high-speed freeway with my scooter. And this one is when I was on the top of a highway and the front tire ran out of air and I almost drove off of a cliff. Some nice child labor. This is propaganda. This is Chinese propaganda. It's insane. It's just like, let's take a look what it says. 男生女生男生女都一样，what is this？ 儿文都可以来养老，儿女都可来养老。Okay, so it doesn't matter if you give birth to a boy or a girl. It's the same. A girl or a boy can take care of you when you become old. So as you can tell, it's serious. It's serious business. Alright, here's the Muslim burial. Here's a Christian church. Here's a river that dried up. Alright, anyways, so Nanjing. So from Nanjing, then I went up through Jining, and I carried on through to Jinan. Okay, so from Jining, where's Jinan? We've got Nanjing and Suzhou and Jining. Here's Jinan, and then through Dezhou, and then Changzhou, then Tianjin, and then Beijing. Now from Beijing, we went through Baoding. Baoding used to be the capital city before they moved it to Beijing. Then I made it to Shijiazhuang. Shijiazhuang is kind of a weird place. I had a classmate there. I visited her. And then I went west. Shijiazhuang. Oh, no, I didn't. I went through... No, Zhengzhou is where my classmate lived. I went through Shijiazhuang all the way back down to Zhengzhou. Like, what the heck? So I start from Shanghai, I go all the way up to Beijing, and then I come down to Zhengzhou, and then across to Xi'an, to Lanzhou. Lanzhou is as far as I went to the west. It's here. And then from there, I went, oh, this was so crazy. There's like sometimes there's no roads. Like, they were building roads at that time. I took a boat across like a river just because there was no more road one time. Like a boat, it wasn't a river, it was like a lake. You had to get across the lake. I wonder where that lake was exactly. Anyways, I assume I went down this way. But I thought it was going to be like real roads. It did turn out to not be real roads. And I just kept going. Guangyuan. Yeah, I went through Guangyuan. Down, all the way to Chongqing. Now, when I got to Chongqing, then I put the motorbike onto a boat, and I took what's this river? So Chongqing is where these two rivers come together to form the Yangtze River. And this Yangtze River is so wild because, anyways, so it was like 3 days on this boat, and they put my motorbike on their boat. I did my wash. I hung up my clothes. Like, somehow I hung up my clothes somewhere on the boat. And eventually, this gets you to the Three Gorges Dam. And so as you get closer and closer to the Three Gorges Dam, then what happens is the water, it gets higher and higher and higher. And it ran into a bunch of, like, here, so Fengdu Ghost City. So some of these ghost cities are cities that just don't exist anymore. People don't live there anymore because they had to move. Because the water, I don't know, I think it's because the water was getting higher and higher. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, somewhere the water became higher. I don't think it's here exactly. I think it's closer to the Three Gorges Dam. How far is this Three Gorges Dam? Getting closer. Here it is. It's close to Yichang. So here's the Three Gorges Dam, somewhere around here. Must be here. This looks like it could be it. Yeah, Three Gorges Dam. So then I took the motorbike off of the Three Gorges Dam. Off of the boat. And I started driving again. I had 3 days to relax on the boat, and then I drove. I had another classmate in Yichang I visited, and Jingzhou. I can't remember if it was Jingmen or Jingzhou. So I was on my way to Huangshan. I went through Wuhan. Wuhan was intense. There's like 2 sides of the river. It was a really weird feeling in Wuhan. And then up through Hefei. No, it was here, Huangshan, because it was through Huangshan. And then through Hangzhou. And then back to Shanghai. Whoa. Yeah, so I did that in 2 months. Took a summer holiday and just had to get out of the city because I was going crazy. You see that 10,000 kilometer trip, one big circle around China. Yeah, a long, long time ago. I think that this China is gone. So then when I went to, well, the whole point of this story is that when I went to Russia, I was like totally like burned out from that whole experience. Because you can imagine that I burned out like 3 major burnouts in China from that intense study. And then after I left China, I quit my job. I was working for an international law firm. I was married to some lady, Chinese lady, and then I go to America, and then like we decided to get divorced, and like I just never dreamed of divorce. How could that even happen? And I just like my reality was torn into pieces. So I went back to Canada for a little bit, and then one day I was talking to my dad, and he's just like, "So, what you gonna do with your life, there, buddy bud?" And I was like, "I think we go to Russia." He's like, "All right, have fun." Oh, all right. So, but I could never really get into it. Like, I could never actually sit down and write down like write down vocabulary words in Russian. I never wrote down vocabulary words. I've been studying Russian for like 5 or 6 years. I never wrote down vocabulary because I couldn't. There was two issues. One was a psychological issue, which was like I put 10 years of work into China, and then at the end I just lost everything. I even lost my grasp on reality. So why would I want to put any effort into this at all? For example, why would I want to learn the language so well that I could like communicate with women and start dating again? And then like so I just never put in the effort. I just kind of like floated along. And then why would I want to put in the effort to like go to law school in Moscow? Like, cause I mean, you graduate and then what? You end up getting a job with a law firm, and you think that Russian law firms are going to be less corrupt than international law firms in China? Like, that's the whole point of having law firms, is to protect businesses who are engaged in corrupt practices. That's what a law firm is. Like, what do you think this? What, what do you think a law firm is? They're people who specialize in understanding the legal framework of a country so they can use it to take advantage of others. That's law. That's what it is in these countries. So, anyways, I don't know. I was like, I remember when I was in this event in the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, no, the Canadian Business, the Canada China Business Council in Shanghai, and I meet this Chinese guy from like this big Canadian company, and I was just like, "So, what's the secret?" I was like, "What's the secret to doing business and becoming successful?" He says, "Well, to do good in business, you have to sometimes learn how to be bad." I was like, "What?" That's the great secret of the universe. В Южной Korea, в Южной Korea. Okay, so the difficult thing about Chinese is the Chinese characters. You have to learn how to write these characters. The difficult thing about Russian is the grammar. Okay, so why? Because you have to make some changes. You see the word v, it means in. Now, if you're going to be in, and it is a noun, then you have to end it with an e. V Korea. V Korea. But if it's not a noun, if it's an adjective, then it depends actually. So in this case, Korea is feminine. It's a feminine noun. So you have to have the feminine form of the adjective. And then the feminine form of an adjective, if it's followed by this grammatical phenomenon, then it ends with an oi. V Южной Korea. So this is the subject. School exams, Scholi examen. So examen is a masculine noun, and so the adjective has to end with a masculine ending. Школьный examen. Очень сложный. So they're very difficult. So you can see that the ending of the adjective difficult is the same as the adjective школьный. Школьный examen очень сложный. So you can see that you have to understand all these things. You have to understand that this is, first thing you have to understand, this is a feminine noun and this is the masculine noun. Then you have to understand that this is the feminine adjective, which is describing the feminine noun, and that using this case, it's called a case. There's 6 different cases. This is one of the cases. In this case, we're going to end the noun with a ie, and we're going to end the feminine adjective with a oi. And this is another case, but well, technically it's not really a case, it's a subject, so we don't make any changes. We just use the masculine form of the noun, and then the masculine form of the adjective ending, and also here the adjective form of the masculine ending. Test på angliskому, tests in English. So in this case, the word is jezik. So jezik is a masculine noun, and after we have the word po, this is called datilny, падеж, datilny, so the dative case. In the dative case, the masculine noun ends with a u when it's singular, and then the adjective also changes to an u. So test, the test in English, so the English language test in the English language, очень сложный. So here's that сложный again. Okay, so it's difficult, so it's the masculine form of the adjective. Многие ученики боятся, so that many of the students are afraid. В этом году. Now, you see how we have the v here? It says in South Korea. This is the same word, in this year. Now, as we were explaining, this is the feminine form. This, what? The v gadu. So you see that's the u. So my question here, is this the dative case? Because if we have the u here, then it should be dative. But then we realize, oh, wait a minute. So etam, v etam, this is предложный падеж. So why is the gadu ends with the u? Or is this vinительный падеж? So sometimes before time, if it's a period of time, then we use vinительный падеж. Now, goad, the word goad is I think it's masculine, but it's spelled with an A at the end. And so you have to change, although it's masculine, you have to change the A to an U. So this is vinitelny падеж. You know it's masculine because the word etum ends with an OM. If it was a feminine noun, then it would say etу году. Многие люди злятся. Okay, so what new words do we have here? Южная Корея школьный экзамен очень сложный. Тест по английскому языку очень сложный. Многие учителя боятся. В этом году многие люди... So this is the first actual new word for me. Злятся. Злятся. I don't even remember what does it mean? Злятся,害怕, it means they're afraid. 许多学生感到害怕. No, боятся, that's боятся. 今年很多人生气 they're angry, so this means angry. Rukovodитель, so this is like, it actually means like a rukovodитель. So ruka, it's hand. I think ruka is like a hand, and водитель is driver. So I think this is like a负责人, the responsible person. The person who's managing the test, they quit. The responsible person. So rukovodитель is the responsible person. Rukovodитель. 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 Examiner. Now, you see this word examiner? So this A, so sometimes they don't use prepositions the same way as we do in English. This A at the end, it means родительный падеж, and in this case, it replaces the word of. So it means the, well, I'll show you. Exam supervisor resigns from his post. He apologizes. Rukovodитель. So you can say it says exam supervisor. It just means so this is the word of. It says the supervisor of, let's make it a capital A. You see the supervisor of the exam, uходит, leaving his post, quit. He quit his post. He apologizes. All right, we got руководитель and then examiner, уходит. Remember in Belarus, like I was in Belarus during the time of the protests, they were saying уходи. You see, уходи, quit. They were telling the Lukashenko to quit. Уходи, Lukashenko, уходи. They wanted him to quit. Со своего поста. Now, you see, со своего поста. And the question is, what is the posta? What is the a at the end? And what is the его? And what is the so? All right, so what we want to do is we want to do the Russian cases chart. Okay, so we're going to click this one here. Where is it? So you can see, like, look how much grammar there is. So on and on and on and on and on. These are the cases. This is all about cases. Okay, so we just saw this situation where okay. All right, so what we're focused on right here is the section here with the adjectives and the nouns. So we're looking for the ending. Where's the ending that says, where are we? Here, okay. So it's going to say so, and then it's going to be this is ego, and then post a. So we were looking for the noun which ends in an a, and the adjective that ends with a yevo. All right. So where's the nouns that end with an a? Here's the nouns. Okay, so the masculine, so the MN, it means masculine and neuter, and F is feminine, and PL is plural. So there's two possibilities here. So the GEN means родительный падеж, and the ACC means винительный падеж, or genitive and accusative. Now the accusative case, винительный падеж, if it's a masculine noun and it's an animate object, then you're going to copy the genitive form. If it's a feminine noun, then you're going to just use this regular situation. All right. So if it's a animate object, it's called одушевленный вид. If it's одушевленный вид, if it's an animate like a human or an animal, then you're not going to, when you're using винительный падеж, you're not going to use the винительный падеж. Only for this specific case, you're going to use the родительный падеж. So it's going to end with the noun is going to end with an a, and the adjective is going to end with an ogo. So we need to understand which word are we talking, which word is this? So we have the posta. So posta, it's coming from the word post. It's the same word, he left his post. But the a, so the a does not make it feminine. The a is related to the case. Своего поста. He left his post. Now the question is this, so is post an animate object? No, post is not an object. So this is a inanimate object. So it means we're definitely what? So we're definitely using the родительный падеж. Here it is. So here's the его up here. So right above here, you can see we're going to be using the CW, своего, for his. Своего is this one here. And posta, the noun ends with an a. That's родительный падеж. So in this situation, because after he left, we're using this word с. Following the word с in this situation, we're going to be using его поста. Он извиняется. Он извиняется. So that's relatively new for me. Он извиняется. We got supervisor. We got он извиняется. Извиняется. Nice. Okay, next. Некоторые вопросы очень длинные. So this is plural form of many of the questions are very long. And you can see that the adjective is the plural form of the adjective. Вопрос. This is the noun, and this is the plural form of the noun. And I don't know, in the case when you're using this word, I don't know if this is actually an adjective. I think it might be a different kind of word. It's also in the plural form. И их трудно читать, and it's difficult for them to read. Ученики, so this is the easiest word in the whole text. So it's a subject, it's a plural subject. The word is a masculine noun, it is a plural, the E makes it plural. So the students, должны, should, много размышляется над, what is this word? Размышлять. Размышлять. I don't know this word. Okay, what was the Russian for this one? He apologizes. Apologizes. Okay. The students должны много. They should not text them. Students should think a lot about the text. Много раз. Okay, think a lot. Is раз мышлять. Think. Not text. So in this case, this means not on the text. So remember we had the word v. It was called предложный падеж. So this is the same kind of word. Instead of using the word v, we're saying nad, which means the same thing, on, or in or on. In this case, it kind of means like about the text, but they're saying the word on the text. You have to think a lot on the text. So you can see the at the end. So if we go to the предложный падеж, so the предложный падеж is the PREP. No, okay, I'm wrong. So it's actually the instrumental case. Because it's the noun is ending with an OM. Means it's instrumental. Which is kind of weird because it's not really an instrument. On the text. You have to think about the text or on the text. The word about. Yeah, that's true. Because sometimes we use the word O, just the letter O, to think about. And to think about, it also uses this. No, the word think about uses предложный падеж. А это не предложный падеж. So this is not actually предложный. This is творительный падеж, the instrumental case. Ученики должны много размышлять, think a lot about the text. Даже учителя говорят, что текст слишком сложный. Even the teachers say, so this is the plural form for teachers. I don't know, is that учитель is, I thought it was masculine. Even the teachers, so you can see that it's a plural because the verb form is in plural. That the test is too difficult. Они говорят, что они, and then here again, this is the plural form for they. They say that he, now in this case it means it, что он не помогает ученикам использовать, that it doesn't help the students to use English, the English language in real life. Они говорят, что он не помогает. It doesn't help. This is a singular. This is the verb tense form for a singular on. He or it doesn't help students. Okay, so now the question is, so what do you do to the noun after the word help? Now, if it's plural form ending in am. So if it's the plural form ending in am, so it's a masculine ending in am, it's probably this one, which is дательный, so help. So in this case, we could say to help. Now the word to help or to something, to listen, to speak, sometimes this is in дательный. It doesn't help two students use, использовать английский язык в реальной. Okay, so here's that again. Here's жизнь. So жизнь is a feminine noun, and then when you add this v, for some reason we're changing жизнь into a жизнь, probably because the word жизнь ends with this one, a мягкий знак. So let's check. So if we go to the accusative case, no, предложение. If we go to предложение case, and if it's feminine, and it ends in a мягкий знак, which is this one, then we change it to an E, which is exactly what happened. The мягкий знак was changed to an E, and this is the adjective, the feminine form of the adjective, which ends in an oi. So here's the feminine form of the adjective. As you can see up here, we have the word adjective, and over here we have the F, which means it's an oi. Этот экзамен очень важен для страны. Why is it so important for the country? So actually the word for country is strana, but because we added the word для, then we have to change the a to an e. Okay, so what is that? If it's a noun that is feminine and it changes to an e, then it must be, I guess it's this one. Для, so it's родительный падеж. E becomes e. No, a becomes e. In this case, the a becomes e, so для is following a для becomes родительный падеж. Люди думают, что он может изменить жизнь ученика. So remember this one, this A is of, the word of, so the lives of the students. They, что он может, люди думают, so some people think, so plural form of people, plural form of the verb to think, that it can change life of student. В день экзамена, in the day of the exam. So why then examine is masculine? Why does it end in an a? В день экзамена. So it must be родительный падеж, you see, because it's genitive, so родительный, and it's masculine. So I'm just noticing that when we are dealing with time, then sometimes it's родительный падеж. Люди соблюдают. Okay, that's new. Соблюдают. Соблюдают. What is соблюдают? They become silent. Maintain. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4, 5. We got 5 words. Тишину, чтобы помочь учителю. Некоторые эксперты говорят, что экзамен должен быть изменен. Он должен помогать учителю чувствовать себя спокойно и лучше учиться. Okay, now we're into French. En Corée du Sud, l'examen scolaire. I guess it means school exams. School exams. Est très difficile. Okay, so this is the point. So I studied Chinese, and the difficult thing about Chinese is learning all the characters. So I spent, 4 years. I do a law degree where I'm reading book after book after book after book after book, 40 textbooks in Chinese, so I learned how to read. Then I go to Russia, and it's just like, it's insanity. As you just noticed, I just explained the 50% of the grammar of three paragraphs, which is supposed to be basically a B1 level of Russian, and you can see that every single word, you have to know exactly what every single word is and its relationship to all the other words in the sentence. You have to know all the rules and you have to know those rules for both the plural and the singular, for masculines and neutral and feminine nouns, and how they're affected by the cases and also affected by verbs. It's just insanity, and like I just couldn't do it. It was just because I just didn't have the push, the desire to do it, especially after my time in Russia. And so I just never could get myself to sit down and memorize this structure and then to apply it in real. So I speak Tarzan Russian, which is a lot of people speak Tarzan. In fact, all of the former Soviet states, anybody who learns Russian these days, if you're not in Russia, it's likely that you speak a little bit of Russian, and it's likely that you speak it like I do, because it's just the grammar's too insane. And then now we get back to French. Now French is en Corée du Sud. L'examen scolaire est très difficile. Okay, so the Korea of the South, in Korea of the South, the test, the school test, is very difficult. Le test d'anglais est très difficile. The test in English, I don't know what this means. I guess it means de la. No, de la is du. D'anglais. Test d'anglais est très difficile. Beaucoup d'élèves ont peur. Many students are afraid. Cette année, beaucoup de gens sont en colère. So this word sont is the same as the word is. So this year, many people are angry. Le responsable de l'examen, the responsible person of the exam, quitte son poste, quit their post. Il s'excuse, and he apologized. Certaines questions sont très longues et difficiles à lire. Certain questions are very long and difficult to read. Les élèves doivent beaucoup réfléchir au texte. The students have to think a lot, reflect or think a lot about the text. Même les enseignants, what does même les enseignants dit? So maybe réfléchir is actually somewhat new. The thing is that since we read the other text, it's easier to guess. Reflect or think about. Since I speak English and I also already read the text twice in two other different languages, I must be reflect or think. Même les enseignants disent que les tests est trop difficile. So some of the teachers. So what is the word même les? Because I think some is aucun, aucune. Aucun or aucune. Even teachers say même. Even. Les enseignants disent que. So this is the plural form of dit, to say, que, that, le test. This is masculine. Le test is trop difficile, too difficult. Il dit, so again, this is the plural form of they. They say that it n'aide pas des élèves, does not help the students à utiliser, to use l'anglais dans la vie réelle. To use English in the life real. In real life. La vie réelle. La vie réelle. La vie réelle. Cet examen est très important dans le pays. The examen is very important in the country. Les gens pensent qu'il peut changer la vie dans élève. The people think that it can change the lives of the student. Le jour de l'examen, the day of the examen, les gens become silent to help the students. Reste silencieux pour aider les élèves. Certains experts disent que l'examen droit, the examen should be modified, modifié. Il devrait aider, it should help the students à se sentir calme, to become calm and à mieux apprendre, and to study better. So this is crazy because like I've been studying French for like basically, I don't know, a year and a half. And I can read the French easier than I can read the Russian, and easier than, I mean, the Chinese, obviously, I can read it pretty easy, but I can't necessarily write it out anymore. I can't remember how to write all those characters. If somebody was reading it and I had to write all those characters, I couldn't do it. And then the Russian is like, I've been studying Russian for 6 years, and I just struggle with all of that. French, I've been studying it for a year and a half, and basically I can read the whole thing. There's almost no grammar. There's no Chinese characters. It's insane.